I do get to summon the head chef. Gordon Ramsay is here. Hello, and today we're diving deep into Nouvelles, also known as the big old ba-da-ba-ba-ba, that hungry burger, I'm loving it deck. And why do I like this deck? Well, because let's take a look at this. It's a very hard deck to manage. I, for one, love challenging decks. It's a deck that's got really good recovery as well. I give that an 88. Going first, it's not the best going first deck. It can put up a formidable board. It's got an Omni Negate. We'll go over that. And going second, it does have a lot of good cards that work with the full board too. But again, not a great going second deck. So why are we even talking about this deck? Well, because its trickery is off the charts. It gets a 95 in trickery. It's like when you play Mario Tennis and you're playing as Boo the Ghost, and it's got that like curvy, slidey ball. This is a kind of deck that's like that, because people don't read about this hungry burger deck. It's very hard to read. In fact, there's a lot of things about this deck I like, which I'm just going to show you on the screen all at once. It's an unsolved deck. You can use many different techs, right? 40 versus 60 card decks, right? It's an option because of the amount of like cards that are like bricks and garnets in the deck. Some people like to play 60 to really isolate those bricks so you don't draw it. It's unique, it's challenging, its meme potential and funny potential is off the charts. And it actually has actual potential when we really dig down deep into it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go, first I'm going to start like with the basic stuff, then more intermediate, then we're going to go into the advanced stuff at the end. So just with the basics real quick. So if anybody who's never seen this kind of deck before, it is a ritual based deck. And they like to cook recipes, and they go up through the numbers and they go up through the ranks like you're ordering more and more expensive meals, you know what I'm saying? Until finally you can't pay your bill and you gotta dine and dash. But let's start with the level 1 guy here. We have Barilla Base, or Barilla Bas de Nouvelles, right? My French isn't up to snuff, so don't come at me in the comments like it's pronounced Barilla Bas, right? Or whatever it's called, right? Barilla Base or Barilla Bas. Tomato, either way, this guy's not a tomato or a tomato. He's a fish, and what he does is you ritual summon this card with your ritual recipe cards, right? The rituals are recipes, and what happens, what this little guy does is he's going to excavate 5 cards off the top of the deck, and he's going to get you a Nouvelles card that you reveal. The top 5 come off, and he's going to get you a Nouvelles card. Now, he also, funny enough, the ritual cards have corresponding ritual spells, at least the first 2 of them, so not to confuse you, but this is the corresponding ritual spell that goes with this guy, right? So what's going to happen is this guy can be used like to ritual summon any of the Nouvelles ritual monsters, tribute that are from hand or field equal or exceed. And if you use this guy, the Barilla Boss, with this card, so if you ritual summon him with this card, you can add an additional ritual spell recipe from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So very, very interesting. So that gets you basically another ritual spell. So some good recovery potential there, like I said. And like I said here, there's also a second effect on this card, which I wanted to mention after. If something targets this card, right, an enemy card targets, this is how they kind of like go up on the menu. When a card effect is activated that targets this card on the field, or when it's targeted for an attack. So pretty much it's got a really good defense here. Quick effect, tribute this and 1 attack position monster on either field, and then if you do, special summon the level 2 or 3 Nouvelles monster. And like I said, we'll go up in the line, we'll start talking about what they do. So let's now bring in the level 2. So remember, this level 1's a nice little searcher, and it's a nice way to get us started. Now, the level 2, Confrias de Nouvelles, or Confrias de Nouvelles, again, my French isn't up to snuff, but this is a spell and trap popper. That's all really he does, is he pops the spell and traps, right? If you can ritual summon this guy, when he's special summoned, by the way, these cards do their effect when they're special summoned, not when they're ritual summoned, because again, they can special summon themselves out through different effects. So it's nice to have that there. Anyways, special summoned, it will destroy a spell or trap card. And then again, it's got the same effect as the first card that we read, where if it's targeted, it can now go up the ladder for now it's a 3 and 4. So that can basically go up too. Here's the associated ritual spell that goes with it, the meat recipe, right? The recette de visande. And the other one was the fish recipe, by the way. But this is the meat recipe. And basically what you do is if you ritual summon this guy with the meat recipe, all of the monsters go from defense position to attack position. that your opponent controls. So again, it will switch all of your opponent's defense position monsters to attack position, which makes them very vulnerable. This makes it actually a decent going second deck, is if you can get all of your opponent's monsters in attack position, now you can get your combos going because you can make your opponent's monsters targetable for attack, and you can do other stuff and start tributing your opponent's monsters. But now here comes the meat and potatoes of the deck, right? The Fuertes de Nouvelles, this guy here, simple and efficient card. By the way, I didn't go over the other ones. The first two cards that I was talking about, the first entry level guy, you're going to want to run that at 2 copies. And the second guy, you're going to only want one copy of that card. That's pretty much universally agreed upon. But what's not universally agreed upon is how many copies of this guy do you want to run? Some people like to run this guy at 1, others run it at 2. I run this guy at 2 because what he does is, it might seem like very simple, but take a look at this. When this card is special summoned, draw a card, right? Like, oh, great, nice, easy, simple, and efficient. Here's why he's so good, though. When a card, his effect is a little bit different than the other two. When a card or effect is activated that targets a monster on the field, notice how it's different. It doesn't have to target him like the first and second one does. It just needs to target anything on the field. If a card or effect is activated that targets a monster on the field, just a monster, any monster on the field, or when a monster is targeted for an attack, quick effect. So again, it doesn't have to be exactly him. It could be any monster being targeted or any monster attacked. Now we can do his effect. Quick effect, tribute a Nouvelles monster you control and an attack position monster on either side of the field. And then if you do, special summon a 4 or 5. And that's why I like to have 2 of these in the deck, because again, it's level 3, so I can pretty much ritual summon it. Even if I have like an Ash Blossom as my only monster in my hand, it's level 3, so I can use that as the material. So I really like having 2 of those in the deck. Again, we can go more into that also after, but this simple effect cannot be understated how deadly that is. Now, what else do we got here? This next guy is the level 4, the Fueglasa de Nouvelles, right? What does this guy do? Well, this guy has the Ishizu-like effect, where once he is special summoned onto the field, you get to target 3 cards in the graveyards. Target 3 cards in the graveyards, your opponents, and shuffle them back in the deck. So it can really disrupt your opponent, right? If you're shuffling their recovery options and their crackback options, I like to sometimes call them, or sometimes you need to recycle your own cards, which you want to see again. So this card is a great card. Some people run this at 0. Some people don't even run this card at all. I like this card, and I run it at 1 because, again, that recovery option can't be underestimated. And again, it does have that disruption potential too. Very, very good, very strong card. I want to see one of those as well in my deck. So same thing, and it's got the effect where if, again, the same effect as the level 3 monster had, where if a monster on the field is targeted by anything, we can now activate this effect, or if a monster is targeted for an attack, we can activate his effect and tribute an attack position monster and a Nouvelles monster to go up the ladder. In this case, we can now go to a 5 or 6. So let's take a look at the 5 now. The 5 is now, now we're getting to the dessert, baby. We're getting to the end of the meal, the really expensive guy here, the Balamunier. And I'm pretty sure I pronounced that one right. The Balamunier de Nouvelles is one of my favorite cards here. Some people run this one at 1 or 2. That's why I say this deck is unsolved, because there's a lot of issues with, oh man, I run this at 1, I run this at 2. Because again, unsolved, and it does depend too if you're playing a 40 card or 60 card deck. I'm going to show you my ratios and my deck list in the middle of the video, so we can kind of go over why I'm running it and why the math says to run it, I think, at these levels. So anyways, what this guy does here, you can ritual summon this card with a recipe card. If this card is special summoned, we can add a Nouvelles or recipe card from your deck to your hand. So basically any card with the word Nouvelles on it is up for grabs when this guy is special summoned. Great, love it. And then we can target an attack position monster your opponent controls, tribute it, and then if you do, special summon the level 6 Nouvelles ritual monster. So now with this guy, nothing needs to be targeted or anything like that. We could just target an attack position monster the opponent controls and tribute it. Now, what's even interesting, if it was special summoned from a previous Nouvelles effect, what we can do is, this is now a quick effect. So now if we have this on the field and your monster just does an attack position, we can quick effect that monster, so that and tribute that monster. So very good against link monsters and normal summoned monsters, because those are always summoned in attack position. So that's really, really good there. Now, what's the level 6 do, right? The level 6 is the key boss monster. It's actually the one in Master Duel with the artwork that comes out like, it's a Battle de Nouvelles, right? And this guy, again, is the dessert, the cream of the crop here. Because once you guys got this guy is the icing on the cake, pretty much. There is an additional card, of course, that we'll talk about, that you all know about. It's the burger, and he's got the burger in it. But what does this guy do? How does he lead us to the burger? You can ritual summon this guy with the ritual recipe card. If this guy is special summoned, negate the effects of all face-up monster cards, not just monsters, all face-up cards your opponent controls until the end of this turn, right? Then, if it was special summoned by the effect of a Nouvelles monster, right? If you use that level 5 or level 4 monster to bring this guy out, you contribute as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. They don't even need to be in attack position for this one. You contribute as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. Quick effect. You can target an attack position monster your opponent controls, tribute it, and if you do, special summon a Hungry Burger from your hand or deck. So that's also an additional effect. On top of tributing all of your monsters, now if he gets another attack position monster, we can get a Hungry Burger. So it does 3 things. It will negate all the cards currently on the field. That includes continuous spells, field spells, negates all face-up cards. So as long as it's face-up when this guy is special summoned. Then, if we special summoned it with the Nouvelles, basically all the monsters on the field are tributed, so gone. And also, it's got a quick effect where you just target an attack position monster your opponent controls, tribute it, and we can special summon Hungry Burger. So, yeah, Hungry Burger. Let's take a look at this guy. This is what everybody came to see, everybody. This is the Big Mac. The Big Whopper. Hungry Burger, simple and efficient. 2000 attack. You can ritual summon this card with hamburger recipe. Nice and simple. We don't play hamburger recipe, but the card we do play is the chef's special recipe. Now, what does this card do? Take a look at this. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated while you control a Nouvelles ritual monster, negate that activation. So it's an Omni Negate. You have this card out with a Nouvelles ritual card, Omni Negate. Then, by the way, if you special summon Hungry Burger while this card's in the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, tribute as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. So again, this card will clear the board if it's in your graveyard and you special summon Hungry Burger. It's for this reason, that mean potential, why I love to play Hungry Burger here, and I love this deck. Now, if you want to be ultra competitive, some people don't play this option because it's so far down the line and so far attenuated that they won't play it. And that actually makes sense, because if you do really, really want to make this deck competitive, yeah, you can cut the Hungry Burger, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not cutting the Hungry Burger. I've gotten into Masters by not cutting the Hungry Burger. You don't have to cut the Hungry Burger. In fact, a lot of people will also go into the decks too, have gotten to Masters using Hungry Burger. So no, you don't need to cut it. But it is on the chopping block, as Gordon Ramsay might say. Anyways, let's also go into the other options this deck has. Now, the other supporting cards that this deck has. The Nouvelles Restaurant at Table, it's called in parentheses, right? This is a great supporting field card. Very strong. You're going to want to run it at 3 copies or maybe 2. I can understand cutting it to 2. As for reasons that we're going to get down, we start getting into the intermediate math, why we might want to cut it to 2. But it's a great card. But why would you want to cut a great card to 2? Well, stay tuned for the math on that, because I'll show you that. But anyways, let's take a look at what it does. When it's activated, you can add a recipe card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So that's how we're going to get some cards. And there's another card that I'm going to talk about that's going to get the recipes from our deck or graveyard to the hand, and that's this. But I want to finish up on this guy. Going to get a recipe card, which can be the chef's special recipe or Omni Negate, or it can get the ritual spells as well. So it could be good to either start or use it in the middle of their turn. Once per turn, you could place a ritual monster from your hand on the bottom of the deck. That's great for if you brick or if you have too many ritual cards, it can unclog your hand. And again, this deck can be a little bit cloggy, which is why that's kind of good. It's a great card to have because it can unclog your hand if you have too many ritual cards. And it doesn't have to be just a Nouvelles ritual, because there's some supporting ritual cards we play as well. So it has an unclog effect, an additional add effect, and during the end phase, we can target 2 cards in our graveyard, including 1 recipe, place them on the bottom of our deck, so shuffle them back, or place them on the bottom of the deck, don't even shuffle them back in, put them on the bottom, and draw a card. So great, great, great. Now, let's go to the other supporting card, the Poissonnière des Nouvelles, right? And it's got 2 effects because it is a pendulum card, funny enough. Now, what does this pendulum card do? Well, let's just start with its normal summon effect, right? Because people see pendulums and they usually go, oh my gosh, I don't want to read it. It's actually fairly simple in what it does. All this card's doing is, when it's normal or special summoned, you're going to do this. Add a level 1 ritual monster or a recipe card. So you're adding the little level 1 guy, the Barillabas, or you're gonna add a recipe card. So you're just gonna add your ritual spell. So add the level 1 guy or the recipe. Nice and simple. Now, it has a second effect, which lets you banish recipe cards from your graveyard to special summon a Nouvelles ritual monster with the level equal to the number banished. You never use that effect. I think I've used it like once or twice in like all the games I've ever used it. It rarely comes up, so the rest of that text is pretty much useless there. But it does have a secret effect where if it's tributed or added to the extra deck face up, you can place this card in your pendulum zone. I'm sorry, if it's tributed and added to the extra deck face up, place this card in your pendulum zone. And that's cool because now we can look at the pendulum effect it has, where if you control a ritual monster, you could target a monster on the field. Now remember, the recipes and monsters love to be targeted. So when I go into the advanced plays, some of the advanced things you could do, you'll see why that comes up. So target a monster on the field, special summon this card, then change that monster's battle position. So that's actually useful if you want to change a opponent's monster to attack position too. So it's got a lot of utility there. You can only use this effect once per turn. So target a monster on the field. If you control a ritual, special summon this card and change that monster's battle position. So we can use our own ritual monsters to activate their targeting clause to step up in the ladder and to create a higher meal. Or we can use it on an opponent's card to change its position from defense mode to attack position. So pretty cool stuff there. Speaking more about this card though, it does have an additional support card called the Culinary Confrontation, the Concours de Cuisine. And what basically this does, this card right here, is if you have this card, you can special summon one of these cards to your opponent's field and one of these cards to your field. Most of the time, you're going to summon this card to your field, the Poissonnière des Nouvelles, and you're going to give this card an attack position to the enemy. But on very, very few occasions, by the way, all of these effects, doesn't really matter. Don't even worry about this. Just know that it's a level 5 monster. That's all really you're going to give it. Sometimes you'll give it to yourself because it is a level 5 monster and you might need the levels for your own ritual cards. So like if you have the level 3 or 4 and you want to summon, maybe you might need this to come to your side of the field and then just give them the Poissonnière. Anyways, so you're going to choose one of these monsters, give one to yourself and give one to the enemy. But here's the thing, you cannot use monsters as material for Fusion, Synchro, Link, except Nouvelles. So it will lock you into using monsters as material this turn. And then also has another effect if it's in the graveyard, and this effect is actually really good. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target a face-up monster on the field, and it gains 200 attack for each recipe card in the graveyards. And you might think, that's not that great. Okay, you're getting 400 attack for a card like this. But again, what's important about this card is it says, during your main phase, banish this, target a face-up monster on the field. Again, you're not using it for this whack effect to gain like 400 attack. You're targeting a monster on the field, which is going to activate your card's effects. Since you're targeting a monster, you can now level them up. So, very, very strong card. Now, there is some other strong cards, again, that I need to talk about. So, I talked about this, and the reason why I talk about this is because it's basically a 2-for-1. It can get you either the level, or it can get you a ritual spell from the level 1. but both of these guys get you 2 of the 3 puzzle pieces. What's insane about these cards is, so Pre-Preparation of Rites is so deadly because it adds a ritual spell from the deck to your hand and a ritual monster that's name is mentioned. So for here, remember, we have the 1 and the 2 are very important for this card. You're going to want to run this at 2 or 3. And the Voila cart, today's menu, you're gonna want to run this at 3, if anything. You'll see the ratios when I get more to talk about them. And what this guy does is this basically does the same thing as Preparation of Rites does, but on steroids, because it gets you you reveal 2 monsters and your opponent will pick 1 of them for you to add to your hand. And you basically put the opponent in a bind because you reveal 2 monsters that are both devastating, and they'll add 1 to your hand, and then you'll get a corresponding recipe depending on what you added. You also can choose to make her one of the ones, but I've really never done that. You won't need to do that. Getting back on track here, because that was a lot to take in, and again, we'll get more into those cards are better shown than talked about because it's more easier to talk about them. Anyways, breakfast is 1 meal of the day that you can skip. So considering that, this is a card some people like to skip out when they are deck building in this. And this is the staff recipe card. Now, in my deck list, I didn't skip out on this card, but you can. You're going to want to run this card at either 0 or 1 copies. And here's why you can potentially skip out on this card. A lot of people see it as a win more card. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's the card that does save you and is not a win more card, and is actually the card that won you the game. It's also sometimes a brick in your hand, right? If you're going second and this card's in your hand, you don't want to see it. So it can be annoying in that fashion. So I see why some people will cut it, but what does it do? Because it's a trap. Target a ritual monster you control, special summon a Nouvelles token with 50 attack, 50 defense. This token's level becomes the same as that monster's. Alright, so you're getting some token. You can send this face-up card from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. Ritual summon a Nouvelles ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from hand or field that equal the exact level of the ritual level of that ritual monster. I've never really done that effect either, so it's like, what? You're doing this all for a token? You know, like, why am I even playing this card? Again, it's got very hidden potential that only really high-level players can really see and utilize. You can target a ritual monster control, right? We're not using this to special summon a card or to special summon some token or to ritual summon a card. I already got what I want on the field. What I'm using this card for is to target a ritual monster. And again, since I'm targeting a ritual monster, I can choose on my terms when I want my ritual monster's effects to activate that go off when they target. Again, it's like that other card I was showing you before that has that special graveyard effect that targets to add like 200, 400 attack. We're not using it to add the attack. We're using it because it targets. And that is the very advanced stuff that the deck sometimes misses out on. Anyways, the deck also has various different supporting archetypes that people will use. Some people will choose to either run the Cyber Angel archetypes or to run the Incantation archetypes. I personally am using the Cyber Angel archetype because I like the way it flows, and I'll go over a small little line you can use with it. Some people like the Incantation lines because they get straight to the point in getting you the Incantation monsters, which will grab you a ritual monster or a ritual spell, depending on which one you summon. Both are very good, and actually we'll deep dive into decks that use the different ones. Now, if you're using the deck, right, that's going to use the Cyber Angel, when you use it and tribute it, you're going to use it to get either Herald of the Diviner of the Herald here or a Sakitama. You're only going to get Sakitama really if you have already a Diviner in your hand. Because what this card does is it basically sends a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. You're going to send this guy from your extra deck to the graveyard, which he just adds a ritual spell or monster to your hand, from your deck to your hand. And then if you have a second one, you're going to get this guy who could just normal summon himself for free. Don't worry about all of this text. Just know that he normal summons himself for free. If you do use him as ritual fodder, he'll go back to your hand. So he's kind of cool recycling himself that way. so you can use him as material if you want. But basically, you're going to send this guy. This makes her a level 6. She is a tuner, so 6 plus 4 lets you go into a Baron to floor. That's just basically a Master Duel line that I like to run, and that's my special line that I like to run. Again, that's why I choose to run the Cyber Angel Ben 10 line, and I run 2 or 3 copies of Ben 10 depending on how big my deck is, and I'll show you my exact deck list. But again, that's really more of a Master Duel line because it has the Baron to floor. I guess that could be any level 10 tuner. But if there is one monster in the extra deck that we're playing and I have to talk about, it's going to be Dynamundo. Dynamundo is one of the most devastating cards you can have in your deck. And what I mean by devastating to the opponent. This guy is the head chef. He almost looks like he's cooking something up, right? Like he's ready to cook something up deadly. This guy right here, what does he do? Let's just read it real quick for those of you who don't know. When he's special summoned, you could target a card on the field and a ritual monster in your graveyard, and you'll have plenty, by the way. Shuffle it into the deck, right? So it won't even trigger destruction, right? If the enemy has a branded card, it won't send it to the graveyard. It'll shuffle it right back in. And then it's got another effect. During your opponent's turn, you get to tribute this card, right? Get this card out of here, target a ritual monster in your graveyard, either add it to your hand or special summon it. Now remember, your ritual monsters all do their effects when they're special summoned. Now, very important to know that you can only special summon those monsters if you originally summoned them with the ritual spell and they were properly summoned through the ritual spell. If you summoned it through the evolution methods, you can only add it to your hand. So that's a very important distinction to remember. And you could tell if you special summoned it correctly because in Master Duel, there's a little icon that I'll highlight in the advanced section that will show itself, or maybe I'll put a little picture up, that it will show a little icon that will let you know if you can be revived or not. If it's got a no revive sign, you can't revive it. So very important to know. So if you do forget if you summoned it normally or not, Master Duel will tell you that. If you're playing TCG or on paper, you have to know and remember that. Don't lie to your opponent because your opponent's probably not going to question you because they don't know what your cards do, right? You're just like flipping burgers and stuff in their face, like making all the pizzas and stuff. You're probably doing all this stuff, confusing them already because nobody knows what these cards do. So you have to be honest with your opponent there. So I'm going to trust you guys to be honest with your opponents there. But another thing this card does, again, I could talk about this card forever, why you're going to want to run this card at 2 or even 3 copies because it's that good in the deck, is remember, if it's special summoned, you're targeting a card on the field. And remember, these ritual cards love it when you're targeting stuff. Once you point at something, they're like, yeah, we're in business, baby. What do you want? What do you want? Because when you target something, it's like you want to order something else, they think. So they're like, oh, they start chopping up menus and stuff, and they start getting into more delicious meals. So we're targeting a card on the field and a ritual monster in the graveyard. So if you have another corresponding ritual monster already on the field with it, now it's going to level up and charge the opponent more prices and go into a higher meal and take their attack position monster and tribute it. So very, very strong, very, very good. Now let's dive into how the deck list looks and how the deck building's supposed to look, because this is now we're going into more intermediate stuff, right? So what do we got here, right? This is my deck list and how I built it. It's a 42 card deck. Why did I build it for 42 cards? Well, again, because I do have some cards that maybe I don't want to see it right up front, right? Like I don't want to see Hungry Burger, and so that's fine, but there is still a lot of cards I want to see more often than not. So 42 cards is okay, and if I were to cut it, right, to get to 42 cards, I would probably cut the Hungry Burger and the staff recipe that I was telling you about before, and that will get me to 40 cards. But again, I love the meme potential, and I love to give them that Big Mac. So I'm playing a 42 card deck. Now, again, there are some ratio issues or ratio differences, I should say, from how I play the deck to how other people play. And I'm going to show you that. Again, I'm only playing 2 Preparation of Rites because I don't want to see 2 of them. A lot of the times, this ritual deck is dependent on not seeing multiples, right? Again, and that's also why I'm only playing 2 of the Cyber Angel Ben 10s. I don't need to see 2 of them in my hand. I only need to see 1 because one can get another one, and that second another one can get a Herald, or the first one can get the Herald, and the second one can get a Sakitama. I really don't need to see more than two, and I do run one copy of Preparation of Rites, which searches any ritual card that is under level 7. So it could basically get me any of my ritual cards anyways. So very, very good. And again, this card right here can get me any of these and a ritual card. And by the way, I like to play these cards at 2. A lot of people play that second ritual card at 1. I like to play it at 2 because more often than not, it does get added into my hand. Again, 2 copies of these, 2 copies of these, because again, I don't like playing that many playsets. If you play too many playsets, it gets deadly. Now, here are some of the cards that we could possibly cut, again, because of different ratios. Again, if you don't like to play too many ratios, because drawing the dupes in a 5-card hand, turning your 5-card hand to a 4-card hand is very deadly. I made a video, which I'll link it to the top, on the math on why we shouldn't play more than 7 playsets in a deck. And what a playset is a playset of 3 copies. Playing playsets are extremely deadly in your deck because it turns your 5-card hands into 4-card hands, or even 3-card hands if you're running a lot of playsets. So we don't want to play more than 7 playsets in a deck list. So how are we going to cut it down? Well, I would rather cut one of these, you can cut one of these, these are all cards that are possibly cuttable in the deck. And that will let you run more hand traps and probably turn it into a more competitive deck. If you are like wanting to run this deck and you're thinking like my ratios are a little off, these are the cards in yellow, which would be next on the chopping block to add hand traps or your tech cards or some things like that. Now, as you can see here, I'm only playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hand traps. The deck is pretty deadly with space, very tight in space, and you won't get a lot of room for hand traps. In fact, let's take a look at some other master levels deck lists. This list comes from Trevor Allen. He's a master 1. Again, he only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hand traps, right? But he's running a 50-card list. So even though he's playing slightly more hand traps, he's going to see them less than me because I'm playing a smaller, more concise deck list. So what that means is he can get away with playing 3, 3, and 3 with that because he's playing more cards and they're going to be seen less often. Again, I don't like to see dupes, and even still in these big deck lists, I don't like to play full play sets unless they're absolutely necessary. But let's see some of the differences. He is playing 3 of the Cyber Angels. He's playing 2 of these, but again, I will give him credit for playing 3 of the Cyber Angels because his deck is a little bit thicker. He's gotten to Master 1, and this deck list, yeah, it's very similar to mine. The extra deck was pretty much the same, so I can understand why he got to Master 1. And again, he is playing a 2-1 triple tactics list too here. I do like that. That is a very nice little special little flavor he gives, and he also gives a little flavor and dimensional barrier there. That's a little floodgate, if you will, but again, that's again a very floodgatey tech. But he's running that. It says if you read this, he's running that because the meta called for it, and that's back in November 29th. So this guy's deck is very similar to mine, which is why I wanted to highlight it, right? He got to Masters 1 with it. His ratios look about pretty good, I would say, you know. Maybe, again, I don't like that there's so many 3s, that there's so many, he's running so many play sets. But again, he is running a 50-card deck, so he does get a little bit more leeway with it. And his reasoning for running, he is running the Hungry Burger. So again, see, we've got a Hungry Burger fan there, so a good chef's kiss to him there. Let's take a look at P. Jim, who's running a different variation. He's running a 60-card deck with Hungry Burger in it. Again, not much room for hand traps. He's got 3, 4, like 4 hand traps, really. These, can I activate on your turn? Yeah, 4 hand traps, not even in perm. So, again, 60-card deck list, only 4 hand traps. This deck is not hand trap friendly because you need the room. He is running the Incantation line, which I told you about before. He's also running a package of the Melodious cards. Very interesting. So, again, and he's playing a lot of 3s. And I don't like this, though. Running the Triple Tactics Talent at 3 and Thrust at 3, like, I kind of don't like that. He did get to Master 1, so I don't question his skill, but I might think that he can improve on the deck listing availability there, because running 3 and 3 there, you don't really want to see 2 and 2 of these in your hand, turning your 5-card hand into basically a 3-card hand, especially if your opponent doesn't activate anything. So if you just whiff and you got nothing to do and you're sitting there in a triple tactics talent, because let's say your hand is just full of ritual monsters, your opponent's not really going to play anything unless they just do a Maxi or Moltrummy card off the top of the deck. And your opponent's not really going to be playing the Charmies anyways, unless they are running a go second deck like Tempai or something like that. So that's not even going to be that common anyways. The Charmies, I think, are a noob trap unless you're playing specifically a go second deck, by the way. Just a side note, you can see here, even this guy is running the Herald engine too. Again, his extra deck list looks very similar to mine. He's running 3 of these. I don't think he should run 3 of these. I think that should be a 2 max. But again, it's a 60-card deck. He's doing this so he won't see the burger. He's trying to bury his bricks and garnets inside the deck and see more delicious stuff here. But in doing so, he actually adds some garnets to his deck as well. So he's trying to bury the garnets by adding more garnets. So it's an interesting effect. But again, this guy did get to Master 1 also. And so I'm not going to question his skill. But probably, again, this is what I'm talking about, where people differ on the ratios. And notice also, all of the other guys were only playing 1 of these. And I like to play him at 2. So again, it's an unsolved deck. People think differently with the deck. And I'm not gonna question it because they got to Master 1 as well. And so let's jump in now to the really advanced stuff. We're gonna go into the advanced stuff of the deck right now, and this is how we're gonna get good. And this is the high level stuff and the more intricate stuff. Now, also real quick before I go into that stuff, real quick, if you like food, like and subscribe. Yeah. Join our Discord if you like math and stuff like that. I go really in depth into math. So yeah, let's get on to the high level stuff. All right, hello, look at this guy. Rizil is going first, and that's unfortunate to me because as a ritual player, you kind of want to go first unless you really build your deck around going seconds, like I do with my Albazoa sometimes. This guy's playing a Snake Eye deck here, so my best shot to stop him in his tracks right here is to imperm this Snake Eye Ash, of course, and I love seeing it go through. That's great for me, but what's not great is this. He's got a continuation. He's got the 1-for-1, so that means he's going to just combo off. So now I know I can't do anything about it. I need to start looking at my hands. What do I have here? I have a Confritas de Nouvelles. While this guy combos off, I'm going to just explain to you what these guys do. This guy basically, if I use this with a certain ritual spell, the right ritual spell, he's going to turn all of his guys into attack position. He also, when he's special summoned, he'll be able to destroy a spell and trap on the field. So that's very interesting. So I have that going. I have a random Hungry Burger doing absolutely nothing right now. It's just 6 cost, which, okay, I can use it as tribute fodder. Pretty good. This card can do a little bit. If I use it, it'll get me a recipe card, or I can make it go into the back row. It's got a couple of nice uses there as well. And then probably most importantly, as this guy still combos off, this guy's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps going and going. I just see more animations. I feel like I'm in a 3D movie as I'm trying to explain what these cards are doing. This guy's just blinding me like Porygon in Pokemon. I'm just getting blinded by all the effects. And this guy right here, what this does, basically it gets me 2 cards. It's like a pre-preparation of rites without being a pre-preparation of rites. It gets me 2 out of the 3 I need. And speaking of pre-preparation of rites, what a card to get off the top of the deck. That's going to get me 2 more. And again, I'm going to go for the card, the fish recipe. That goes well, really good with that. And I'm going to show 2 monsters. He gets to pick which meal he wants to eat, and it's going to get me another recipe too. Fish recipe, of course, is, I'm going to use that. That is my tribute fodder for now. Maybe I could have summoned it and done a little bit more value, so maybe a little misplay by me, but I have a plan going. And I really want to focus on my plan here. I'm going to excavate cards, get another Nouvelles card here. He's going to get a little bit interruptions going on there. Very, very interesting. But again, I want to excavate 5 here. I want to get a Nouvelles card. I hit my Nouvelles card. Very, very interesting. So what's interesting to note there is I barely hit it by 1 card. You excavate 5 when you use this card, and you get to get a Nouvelles card. What is crazy about using 50-card decks is I've had it miss. This is why I don't like to use 50-card decks. I've had it miss more often than not, which is why I don't like to use 50-card decks. Anyways, back to this match. This match is insane. He's got all of these deadly cards. He's definitely setting up for next turn, too. I'm going to use this recipe here. When I use this recipe, let's use that burger. Maybe we'll see it later for now. We'll get the Confritas. Remember, that's going to turn all his guys into attack position because I used it with the right recipe. And then also, I'll get to destroy spell and trap on the field, So the only thing I could really destroy is this. I won't get much value out of it because he used it, but whatever. And again, I have another recipe I want to show him. I'm like Gordon Ramsay. I got a lot of recipes I want to show him, man. And this is the third meal I'm cooking. I cooked him a 1-star meal, a 2-star meal, now a 3-star meal. Now, the thing about the 3-star meals is very interesting. Actually, with all of these meals, if you try to interrupt me while I'm cooking, they don't like to be targeted. So what happens is they get angry, and they allow me to combo off again. And what's really cool about these ritual decks is because nobody reads their effects. Like, look, they're so long. Nobody reads their effects. Once you target a Nouvelles card, you interrupt their cooking, they get angry, and they can now cook another meal, and we get to use the opponents as ingredients so long as they're in attack position, which is why it was very important for Confritas de Nouvelles to put them into attack position here, because now I'm making the Folla Glassa, right? The Folla Glassa is the 4-star meal. The 4-star meal is very interesting because that has the yugioh effect. It's going to take 3, shuffle them back into the deck. So I'm going to take some of my cards, shuffle them back to the deck, and I'm going to shuffle one of his cards too. I'm going to shuffle his original Sinful Spoils because that can give him some good follow-up. So I'm going to get rid of I'm going to shuffle back in 2 of my cards and 1 of his cards, right? Getting rid of his follow-up and giving me better follow-up, right? I'm going to get rid of that. And now here's something too. I have some ritual monsters as fodder. Dynamundo, one of the most important cards probably in the deck, right? Because look at this. I can target the enemy, shuffle it back on the deck, and all I need to do is just shuffle one of my ritual monsters back in the deck, and I have tons of ritual monsters, as you know, in my graveyard. I got a lot. So, and what's really interesting too is because I target a card on the field, right? I'll bring that burger back. That is interrupting the level 4's meal, and he doesn't like to get interrupted and targeted. So now I get to use my opponent as material and go into a 5-star meal. The 5-star meal right away can just take someone in attack position, use it as an ingredient to go into the 6-star meal. And there goes Bay Grill de Nouvelles. Now, Bay is very Bay because, again, he gets to target an attack position monster, tribute it, and by the way, he also gets to just negate all the face-up effects. And now here comes the Big Mac, baby. It's McDonald's, have it your way. Or no, that's Burger King, have it your way. My thing is bada bapa ba, I'm loving it. I don't know what's going on here, but what I am loving is that he resigns because I charged him $20 for the Big Mac. Now remember, inflation is going up. A Big Mac used to cost $8 back 10 years ago. Now, because of inflation, a Big Mac meal is about $18. So he had to resign there just because he didn't have the price, enough money to pay the inflation costs. Anyways, that's how you kind of link climb with the rituals, except it's like ritual climbing, and they're very, very strong, very, very potent deck. And that's why it's definitely believable how that guy got Master 1, because these decks are not to be messed with, especially because a lot of people don't know what they're doing with those decks. They're very hard to pilot. Even I made a mistake, as you can see in that deck. I should have actually summoned the level 1 first and then used it as fodder. I would have even had another interrupt and another thing to do there. But it just shows how strong that deck is. Very, very fun deck. All right. So, what are we going to go up against here? What do we got here? Okay, so we got a nice Maxi. That's always great. He's going to special summon right now. Let's use that Maxi to our advantage, baby. But of course, this is a replay, and I don't like to showcase Maxi victories. No. So of course, we're getting Ash Blossomed here. We're going to have to play around Yubel doing their full combo because, again, we don't really have much. So this Yubel player gets to combo off. It's got his full combo going. What do we have? While this guy combos off, let's take a look. We have a Diviner of the Herald, which is going to be able to send a card from our extra deck to the graveyard. Most likely, I'm going to want to send a Herald of Arc Light, but I also could send an Entis if need to pop something. I've got 2 Preparation of Rites, which can get me a Ritual Monster from my deck to the hand, but its secret effect, it can also add a Ritual spell if I have it in the graveyard, from my graveyard to my hand. That might come into handy as well, as my opponent is in the Unchained part of his combo already. Confritas de Nouvelles does get to destroy a spell and trap card, which is very interesting, very useful. Normally, I'd like to destroy the Nightmare Pain, but I might use it to force something else out a little bit too. Especially if he's going into this, I might want to pop his Unchained spell that I know he's going to end up setting. And he's getting a lot of cards. Luckily for me, they're all in attack position, and that's what these this Nouvelles deck likes. They like attack position cards, so they can actually do pretty well going second, even though I like to go first with this particular deck. So anyways, first let me test the waters, right? It's like when you you're into the water and you got to see if it's hot or cold. You like dip your toes in. That's why I used one preparation of rites early. I just want to see, did he have an ash? Like, what's going on? Anyways, let's use Diviner of Herald to get me a card here. Diviner of Herald, of course, is getting me that ritual spell. Now let's go right in using the Ben 10 as material, baby, because now Ben 10 is going to be able to get me a card. And we'll start off by going into this, which is going to pop a card. And also I'm going to gain a card. I'm going to use this second, right? Because the Ben 10 is very important to me. I really need to get that Ben 10 effect off. I really don't need it to get popped that badly. So I don't care if he uses Yubel to stop it. But he's going to actually destroy me, but he's targeting me. And because he's targeting me, I can now use my card. Remember, my guys do not like to get their recipes while they're cooking, while they're literally cooking. They don't like to be interrupted. But he does have an effect Veiler, which is absolutely devastating because that's going to stop. And what's even more worse is he's going to stop my Ben 10 by using Called by the Grave. So now I am literally getting screwed. I'm the one getting cooked now. And that's bad because he's stopping everything. He does destroy his own card, but he's honestly going to get it right back because he's got his graveyard set up. So he's going to get that right back. And now I'm in a heap of trouble because he did all of this. And he still has a negate. He still has his Nightmare Pain. So, wow, that is not looking good to me. I'm hoping that he lets me cook here a little bit longer. I'm going to get a Portalis de Nouvelles. Remember, this does get the ritual spell from my graveyard to my hand, so I do have enough to ritual spell and get this on my own if need be, if he doesn't use his spell there. But since he didn't interrupt that, I will use that as the material. When we use the Herald as material, it will let me get a fairy monster, and they do have a level 1 fairy monster. Now, that's the important effect, so I'm going to chain that as link 1, and link 2 is just going to be this. All that is I could draw a card. Like, oh, good, I'm going to draw a card. I'm putting it in that particular order to stack because his Yubel can negate. He hasn't used it yet, and now he's using it to stop me from drawing one card. Like, wow, like, look, I could care less that he's doing that. And that's another thing too. He used a lot of his time doing his whole combo. See, right, this is a replay. You can't see that he used all this time, so he doesn't have time to read all my cards. My cards are literally like these deadly recipes, so he just had to choose to use his Yubel card there. Anyways, again, I get to now get a recipe card. This is my bonus card, so I'm going to get the Chef's Special Recipe because I don't really need anything. I've got everything I need on board right now. I get to use his monsters as ingredients when they're in attack position, especially in the battle phase. This is like Tenpai at home, right? Except I'm going to use his cards. And what's really interesting is the Foi Glasa de Nouvelles. I don't even know if I said that. It's got the Ishizu effect, so I get to put back his cards back into the deck, get to send those guys back. And since we're in the battle phase, this guy's not going to do anything. I'm going to use this guy as material, and now I'm the one that's literally cooking. And you could see how the tables have turned, you know what I'm saying? And speaking of tables turning, here, I'm going to give him a seat at the table. All this time I was cooking for him, and he was standing up. Allow me to give him a seat, you know what I'm saying? Bring that back into the deck. Let me get some cards. Now, what do I have? I have an Omni Negate. I have an Ash Blossom. I have a Recette Personnel. This is another card which can target my own cards. That's the only reason why it's in there. Sometimes I run it at 1, sometimes I run it at 0. Depends on how spicy I'm feeling, and it's literally, I think, a spice. That's why it's in the deck. It's the 41st card, if anything. And look at this. I've just got too much now. And I'm going to negate all this stuff. There's no way he's going to be able to stop my Nouvelles. Let's just start off nice and interesting. Use the Ash Blossom before I even have to use any of my cards. And he's just going to resign. The cost of inflation, because I was going to make him a burger. And again, that cost was too much. It's $20 for a burger. He can't afford it. My meals were getting too expensive for him. I don't think he had enough money for dessert, right? I hope he left a tip or for my waiter, but I don't think he did. He just ran out of there. I think he dined and dashed. So that's why they're so strong. All right, here we go. I get to go first. So what I kind of want to do here is always start off with the Diviner first. You know, like to dip my feet into the water, you know, see if it's hot or cold. And, you know, get my combo going here. We'll always like to send Cyber Angel Ben 10 because that can get me another light fairy of my choice here. We'll just go into the Foi Glasa, return some stuff back. We can return the Ben 10, and we'll also return Herald. Why not? This card's just pretty cool, just chilling here though. This card is basically a free summon. It's a free normal summon. So it's very strong to get. We'll take that guy back, get a nice hand trap, and yeah, we'll take those two. 6 plus 4 gives me a 10, and the best 10 in Master Duel is always Baronne de Fleur. Now, Baronne de Fleur can also do something else too. If I had one more card on the field, what I could do is I could target that card to destroy it, right? And that would trigger the Feuillaglace and would let me level up to go into the level 5, which would also get me the Omni Negate too. So I just want to let you know that if I had one more extender, I would have an Omni Negate right now too, on top of what I already have. And you might not realize it, but this might not look like a lot, but it actually is. And you'll see why right now, why this is actually a really good, strong hand. So let's just start with using Ghost Ogre, right? Well, why use our negate if we don't have to? Let's use our stuff in our hand first, right? A bird in the hand is worth more than 2 birds in the bush. Anyways, so now he doesn't have a normal summon anymore, but he sets 3 deadly, and he gets an additional normal summon right there. Let's stop that now. Let's not let him get into his trap tricks, because he's playing trap tricks. They have a link 1, and that link 1 is deadly. So let's just stop that right there. And now what I can do is I can now bring my Baron back and send out, get another Herald. That's what I'm planning on doing. I want to do that. So let's go with that. Get a nice Emperor. But oh, what's this? If you have no traps in your graveyard, target 2 monsters on the field and destroy those targets. So he's going to destroy my Baron and he's going to destroy my Feuillaglace. Now, what's really cool is because he targeted my Feuillaglace, I can now make a new monster. I'll be able to use my Baronne de Fleur as an ingredient, effectively dodging his thing. And therefore, I face no punishment for what he just did. And in fact, I get to now gain a card. So thank you for helping me gain a card. And now I'm kind of stuck and I didn't really have much to do there. I mean, I guess I could have removed it and did that, but you know what? I'm going to go from the top of the ladder and I'm going to swoop back down and I'm going to go back down now to the bottom. And I'm just kind of like going up and down on my chef's ladder here. So I had a level 5, now I'm going to the level 1. And you can see here how I'm making use of all the different things. Now I'll get my Omni Negate. Now, what can I make with these two? Well, it's the best card right now for this deck. Dynamundo, he's pretty much like the head waiter, the head manager, I always consider, of the restaurant, shuffling a card back. And also, by the way, during the main phase, I can resummon my summoned cards. You have to be very careful, though, because you'll see if you can summon them, they'll let you know if you can summon them or not. They'll have a little graveyard at the bottom. As you can see here, this card doesn't have a little graveyard, so I can summon it. So here's Barilla Base. Now I'm going to get to look at 5 cards and add 1 to my hand. I do have a negate right there too. And I completely whiff. And that's what's deadly about running a 44-card deck to a 50-card deck. Anything over. Look, I can still whiff even on these low-count decks, which is why I don't think you should play this deck at 60 cards. I've seen this deck played at 60 cards. You do whiff and you miss a lot with that effect. But anyways, that was just going to help me in consistency. There's nothing I could have done to stop this Crap Trick Sarah getting on board. And here she goes. Now she's trying to stack on her advantage. I have to negate this because I don't want him to destroy my restaurant. My restaurant is very important to me, so I can't let that get destroyed. I'm a 5-star restaurant. I do a lot for my customers, and we've been having a good grades. So we keep our establishment open. And what he's going to do, he's going to special summon a Trap Tricks monster, and that's going to target and destroy my stuff. And now he gets to combo that effect. So even though I tried to protect my restaurant, it seems like there was something wrong and the health inspector had to shut my restaurant down. So the health inspector, being Trap Tricks Mermello, came and inspected my restaurant and shut down my restaurant. Now all I only have is Barilla Base. We're working on the street now. We're like working on the street, selling hot dogs right now with our level 1s. But that's okay because hot dogs themselves can be delicious to a lot of New Yorkers, right? You go to New York, and there's a lot of people that love their hot dogs, and so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm peddling in hot dogs, right? We're going to make a lot of one-course dishes right here. So I'm going to make him a hot dog here. We have 2 hot dogs here, and what I'm going to do with this hot dog is I'm going to search for 5 cards, and then she's going to go into the extra deck, which is really cool. So let's see if this hot dog can find something, because we are in the streets of New York right now. So, again, we're looking for a card off the top, and the 5th card finally was something good. This card will let me destroy a spell and trap on the field, and this card lets me target. Now, because I get this target interrupt, I can now go from selling hot dogs to, basically, I moved up a little bit. We're selling Chicken McNuggets now. The level 3 is selling Chicken McNuggets. Now, I'm also going to go into another Dynamundo. Again, Dynamundo is so good. I get to flip a card back. So let's flip over that random card because we don't know what that's going to do. Now we're in the battle phase. The battle phase lets me use the opponent's monsters as ingredients for myself. Use that as a Shizu effect. The level 4 does the Shizu effect. Put some of my cards back in to recycle. That's very good. And he's going to do some special summoning, so I do have a Max C for that. And he's going to flip my Foya Glassa face down. I guess he's telling my chef to take the day off of work. Again, the health inspector is realizing that I've been working my workers very hard, and he is protecting his health inspector from dying with the trap-tripped garden. So OSHA can't even stop me from getting to his health inspector. But anyways, I do get to go into the level 5 here, and what's very interesting about the level 5 is I get to use his monster as an ingredient while opening my restaurant back in business. Now, you see, I just had to hire a top quality chef and make some good meals to get back in business. This will get me my Omni Negate, and I do get to summon the head chef. Gordon Ramsay is here. He will sacrifice his guy, and also I'll get to take this guy back, get another restaurant. Why not? Now I have an Omni Negate. I have my Uncle Pete. I've got my Aunt Sally. I've got everything. And what does he have? He has 1 card to his name. That's not going to be enough. My restaurant is too much for him. He needs to dine and dash. He realized he was ordering too much and was racking up too high a bill. And that bill was something he couldn't pay because he didn't have enough money to tip. And you know what they say, if you don't have enough money to tip, you shouldn't go out to eat. So he had to subsequently surrender because he could no longer afford my restaurant, right? He could afford the hot dogs and the chicken McNuggets, but once I started selling him the premium Le Foie de Choix and the steaks and the delicious filet mignons, he couldn't afford that, and he had to just dine and dash. So, and that's how a typical game should go. Now, sometimes when you're playing these ritual decks, you get into these weird situations. Like, you play decks that, like, you weren't expect to even go against. You have to really think on the fly, and that's what this game is going to hope to showcase, how to do stuff on the fly. And you can see here, I'm getting my stuff banished, and you can already tell how that could be a hamper to your plan, especially if you rely on lane climbing. If the right card gets banished, and you can see here he's playing Clockwork Knight, so we know that this is a stun deck. This is going to do some kind of weird, wacky stuff. This is going to not let us play or do some weird stuff. I'm already trying to get prepared for it. So let's get a lot of cards, because look at this. I have an army of cards here, and I didn't even use it Max C. He's got There Can Only Be One. Now look at this combo. This is going to Clockwork Knight makes all my monsters machines, and There Can Only Be One only allows me to control 1 type. Therefore, I can only control 1 monster because it's going to become a machine. Deadly. Now, I'm going to start. This was my testing in the water. Like I said, I like to feel around in the dark, right? I want to just see what was going on. I had a lot of stuff going on. And what I need to do now is get rid of this card, because I can only allow to have 1 card. So we're going to get in Barilla Base here. Barilla Base is going to basically check and see what's going on here. See if I get anything good. And then this will go into the back row here, which will let me evolve it. And ooh, I get a nice little restaurant. So we'll take that. Of course, we always need to get our restaurant. Now, we'll get our Omni Negate, because that's going to be important here. We'll use this Poissonniere to target our guy, and then that sets off the Barilla Base, because they don't like to get interrupted when they're cooking. We get to use our opponent's monster as material. Again, that special summons it, but I can only control 1 monster. So notice how I had to leave the field as soon as it came back on, because it turned into a machine. So I'm only have this level 3 monster out, and I get a lot of cards. I'll take this back. Maybe I can get something to help me get out of this situation. I'll summon it. Hopefully, I was hoping that I could use its effect to send something to the graveyard, but here's how often I see this interaction. Immediately it gets off the floor. I can't even do anything. I have to just get rid of it right now. So that's going to be deadly. I'm going to grab a card there. I'm going to need this card, and I'm going to need this. Now, what's really interesting here is I'm just going to attack for 700, and I'm going to have to end my turn. This is all I've got. I can't really do anything. I'm kind of in a very interesting predicament here. Now he's going to banish my cards based on all the cards I have, and I'm panicking, so I'm going to use this Max C because I don't even know why I used that. I should have just left it, because he's just banishing off the top. He's not even special summoning himself. I'm just in this case, I'm panicking. I don't know what to do, right? I was wasting a lot of time, which is why I just did that. My time is low here, and I only have 14 cards to my name, and I'm only hitting them for 700 at a time. This cannot work. I have to find a solution to this problem, and I don't really have anything. I do have a negate here, but that's all I really got. So I need to think of something, and something quickly, because I'm at 13 cards. All right, and that's like 80% of my deck or like 70% of my deck is gone. Again, I brought out another card and then immediately had to go away, but I did give him another card, which is very important, which is why this card is nice, because I did give him a card. Anyways, put this back in the deck. Maybe I'll get something. No. So I can't evolve this by attacking, and oh no, I can't attack because he paid 2,000 life points with the Wall of Revealing Light. This means monsters can't attack if the attack is less than or equal to the amount you paid. He paid $2,000, which means I can only attack now with monsters 2,000 or higher. And on top of that, Clockwork Knight is making my monsters have less attack. So this is actually devastating to me. I have to end my turn. And now he's gonna make me lose 4 more cards. I can't have that. So I need to use the chef's special recipe to negate that. I don't even care. I know like he might be able to combo something else with Runic Fountain, but I need to just keep the cards I have there. I only have 13 cards left to my name. I might need that Omni Negate back. So I will shuffle it back into the deck with the restaurant, which is really cool because the restaurant is so cool because at the end of my turn, I do get to take a ritual monster, put it on the bottom of the deck and one other card, and I could draw a card. So that does let me recycle some good cards. And what's he turning my monster into? He's turning it into a Typhon. Very, very deadly. And he's putting it in defense mode. So now there's a 3,000 attack beat stick in defense mode that I also have to take care of now too. On top of that, I only have 14 cards left, and he is very quickly milling me and decking me out. What am I to do? He also has, not only does he have a lock, he has 2 cards here and a face down card. So let's just get rid of this. I need to get something good here. I'm not getting anything, but here's something interesting what I'm going to do here. Even though I can only control 1 monster, take a look at this. If I use this card to special summon specifically Confritas de Nouvelles, right? If I special summon Ritual this guy, I can change all monsters in defense position to attack position. So even though this guy is in defense position, he's basically going to make a cameo appearance. So I use him to summon, everybody goes in attack position, then he leaves the field. Now, the Ben 10 will get me another card, and what's really cool is this card has a secret effect as well. During my main phase, I can banish this card from my graveyard to target a face-up monster on the field. It's going to gain 200 attack, but I don't really care about that it's gaining attack. The only thing I really care is that it's targeting my monster, and because it's targeting my monster, I get to activate it, and because I made his monster go into attack mode, I can now go into this card here. Now we went into the level 4. What are we going to do with the level 4 here? I'm going to shuffle some of his cards back into the deck, and I'm going to shuffle some of my cards that I need back into the deck, because I'm going to need that card to destroy, definitely the level 2 Barilla Base to destroy something. Anyways, let's get me my Barilla Base here, my Confritas. I'm sorry, that's what I meant, because this card will let me destroy a spell and trap. So we'll use that, get that out of here now, and we now can destroy a spell and trap on the field. What spell and trap on the field I'm going to destroy? Well, Clockwork Knight. That was the card that was stopping everything, because it was making me have lower attack points with this, and it was making all my monsters machines. So let's do that. Now I can finally have a second monster, and I get to now use this to get rid of his Runic Fountain, and that's what's really cool about having Entis in my extra deck. Now, what do I get to go into? Well, I get to go into my manager again, Dynamundo. Dynamundo gets to shuffle a card back in the deck. So let's shuffle this unknown card back into the deck, because definitely want to get rid of that. Anyways, after doing that, I now have 2,000 attack, so I'm allowed to attack finally. I can get over this hump, and I can play around this. Let's get that trap destruction, get a nice little hungry burger there, and that's where I'm at right now. Deadliness, and now he tries to put another lock on. Monsters with 1,500 or more attack cannot declare an attack, so that's pretty deadly. What am I going to do now? Because now I have to find out a way to get rid of that. Anyways, but I do have preparation of rights. I'll get the fish recipe, and I'll get the Barilla Base. Barilla Base, I can go searching on a little expedition. I'm going to go looking for the level 2, because that's going to be able to destroy something. And I'm going to want to destroy a spell and traps. Now, how good is my fishing expedition? Well, I've got 11 cards, so I've got about a 50% chance here of hitting it. He's gonna get rid of my restaurant, and that's deadly because that might have a chance of making me lose that. But no, 7 cards left. There's Confritas. We both went for a coin toss there. I'm definitely gonna add Confritas because I need to destroy something. Let's special summon the Confritas. I won't need Maxi anymore. I do only have 7 cards left to my name, but Confritas de Nouvelles will be able to destroy a spell and trap on the field. Let's get rid of that old man because I just need to target. I can attack with more than 2,000 attack, and I can get rid of a card now too with Sky Striker Azalea. This is going to allow me to, as long as I have 3 or more spells in my graveyard, which I have like a million billion, like 525,000, 600 million. That's how many like spell cards I have in my graveyard. But I just need to have 3 or more, and this card can stay here, and I get to destroy a card on the field. So if I destroy this, I have enough for lethal. And he knows that. He realizes that math before I could do that. Either that or he didn't want me singing Rent anymore. He didn't like that song. He's not a fan of plays. So, but I did like to play him. And that's how, even though my ritual strategy couldn't go as planned, they do have different ways to play. And that's what's so fun about the burger deck, baby. You know what I'm saying? It's not all about the Big Macs. Sometimes that little guy, the level 2, can be the clutch guy, and that's what he was clutch. Those spell and trap destructions were absolutely clutch. The manager coming through Dynamundo came through clutch. Whoa, you made it to this secret screen right here. That means you're either in a long car ride, you fell asleep, or you really love ritual decks or cooking up fast food. Either way, I want to thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like and subscribe if you like stuff like this. And let me know in the comments if you kind of like these long guides, these really in-depth guides, or if you have anything else you want to add about the Nouvelles archetype. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, mathematicians.